Welcome to the DJ Insider Podcast, sponsored by Amplified Events.
It's the only podcast where we break down insider information from our weddings, experiences, and advice from over 15 years in the wedding industry.
We're your hosts. I'm Mike Kane, owner of Amplified Events.
And I'm Chris Zart, general manager of Amplified Events.
Let's get into it. Welcome back. We're back. We have a very special guest on this week. I want to welcome Kimberly Barnard from Honorary Bridesmaid. Welcome to the podcast. So tell us a little bit about Honorary Bridesmaid. What services do you offer? That kind of thing.
So Honorary Bridesmaid is a wedding planning coordinating business that has now transpired into design as well as some florals here and there, but mainly coordination and planning.
Okay. Yeah. How did you get started?
So I worked in the bridal industry for 3 years selling wedding dresses.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, down in Indianapolis when I lived down there. Absolutely loved it, networking with all of the different wedding people, as well as making brides just like fall in love with the dress. So it was really fun to just like see them continue to keep going. So I got into planning, and then the main reason why I wanted to help couples was because I was part of so many weddings where you're part of the wedding party. They want you to get there at the butt crack of dawn to set up. You're sweaty. Then you're supposed to go in hair and makeup. Then you're there throughout the whole day, and you are supposed to stay there to help clean up the entire thing. So I wanted to create something that was for more of a budget-conscious bride that allows them to not have to do any of that,
yeah.
or have their wedding party or family have to partake in any of that. So, yeah, that's why I started what I did.
It is a big responsibility to kind of like, I'm going to be in your wedding party, and that means I'm signing up for all the events.
Yes.
I got to buy or rent something to wear.
Yes.
And then and then apparently I'm helping set up and tear down too.
Uh-huh.
So.
And a lot of venues, they don't have a whole crew to come in and do all of that. So people think, I'll save some money and just have my wedding party and family set it all up. And it's like, that's nice, but
then you and your loved ones are working.
Yes.
On your
You're
wedding
putting
day.
them to work pretty much. So they're spending this money to be in your wedding, and then you're putting them to work too. So
So then you did the wedding dress thing down in Indy, and then you've moved back up to the region.
Yep.
And then you started Honorary Bridesmaid.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So I started Honorary Bridesmaid last year, so it's still a baby.
Very cool.
But since next year is already on the books, I have had to now grow, which is lovely.
Yes.
But it's allowing me to get help with setups, get helps with rehearsals and all of those things. So it's been interesting. I did not expect it to take off so well, which I'm super excited about. But
yeah, the best thing about owning your own business is you get to work for yourself. The worst thing is you have to work for yourself. And
yes.
So I can relate.
I love the TikTok that is just like talks about how you quit your job because you don't want to work full-time hours, and then you realize you work more than full-time hours when you come up with your own business.
Oh, that's so true.
It's so true.
So have you had any weddings recently? Any experiences from that? Good, bad?
Recently I just had a wedding in Indianapolis. It was probably one of my favorite weddings because everything was decked out Christmas, which 'tis the season. It was great. It was at Columbia Club, and the backdrop was the Monument Circle, which was really cool. So all the lights were lit up. The entire place is very almost Great Gatsby feeling. So very like romantic with all the lights.
Yeah.
And, it was perfect.
Oh,
Loved
fantastic.
it. Yeah.
And so you were for that wedding, you were coordinating, planning.
For that wedding, I was coordinating. Majority of my weddings I do are coordinating, but I'm starting to get more into the planning process. So I have several of those next year, which is fun. This week alone, I have one that I get to fully design, and it's more of like an intimate ceremony, and it's about 48 guests total. Very small location in Chicago, and decking it also out with a bunch of candles, and that's exactly what the bride and groom want. So,
Oh, that's fantastic.
yeah, it's
I
fun.
just love this time of year.
Yes.
Last week we talked about holiday themed parties and weddings. I was like,
Yes.
oh, it's so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
So much energy.
It is.
So coordinating, planning, decorating, what do you love about it? What are the elements for you that it's like, oh, I love this?
Just designing it and making the bride and groom feel so happy about like hiring somebody else to do it and having them be stress free, as well as having any of their family members and stuff be stress free.
Yeah.
That's like the most gratitude that I get out of it.
Yeah. It really counts for a lot. I know that like the best planners, coordinators, they not only do they take stress off the family and the bride, of course, but they really take stress off the vendors and the
Yes.
venue and everybody. They're worth their weight in gold. Like it's awesome when you show up and you're like, oh, thank goodness this person's here. Like it's great because there's somebody as a DJ, there's somebody I can bounce questions off of without having to stress the bride.
Exactly.
There's somebody that they can like get an answer for me or help me like, oh no, we changed that time. Like, just to like somebody like, I know we said this, but has this changed?
Yeah.
Somebody who's like up to the minute on any updates or changes is always really helpful. That's the good things. What are the challenges?
Challenges are sometimes you get couples that don't communicate very well. And as like a day of coordinator, you want to know like every answer to every question. So if something does arise that day, you're able to handle it without asking the couple. So any bit of information that during the planning process that you can give a coordinator is awesome because it allows them for that day to handle anything for you.
Yeah.
So that's like the biggest challenge is the lack of communication sometimes. But otherwise you can usually figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you kind of know like, okay, I know they're going for this kind of thing, or I
Yes.
know that like we want to keep them, serene and happy and love and so there's some things that's kind of obvious, but other things it's not so,
Right.
and it's always, to me, it's always so interesting that you'd think like there's that stereotype that, oh, you're going to bridezillas or groomzillas, that like people who are very detailed and very controlling and are just a mess of a
I
person.
love those people.
I
that
do
are
too.
detail
I do
oriented.
too.
I am all about it.
Yes, there's that stereotype that,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, but most of the time what I'm dealing with is people who don't know what they want, who've never obviously planned a wedding or been part of a wedding before, so they're not sure, and they're asking my advice and opinion, which I'm glad to give, but a lot of times it's like, what should we do for our first dance song? I'm like,
Yeah.
that's such a personal
It's
thing. I
so
can't.
personal that you can't really, you can give hints, but
Yeah.
I mean, not really direct somebody too much.
Yeah. But to me, the best ones are like people that you can grab their hand and can come along with them and help them have this amazing day. Like I know the elements there that make up this, we can make this magical and fun and incredible, and really make some awesome memories from this. Had you have any experiences or stories or things like that where it's like, this person was struggling and just, I just knew it's this one thing,
What a lot of people don't realize is the amount of stuff that actually goes into the planning process with things. All the different vendors you might need, or all the different communication that you have to have with everybody. So that's like one of the biggest things is trying to just organize it all.
Yeah.
Which I have family that are like, I don't know how the heck you keep all the weddings straight, because when they were planning their own, they were so stressed about everything. It's like, just gotta like 1, 2, 3, just put it in order. It's okay.
Yeah. And when people are struggling, when they're stressed out, do you have things that you do or things that will help that you've noticed that work for you?
Yeah. I just say that I'm going to figure it out.
Just let me share the load.
Let me do it. Let me take over for that. Like, it's okay. Even if it's day of coordination stuff, if you're like stressed out, like, I don't know how to find a DJ or a photographer, whoever, like, I am more than happy to give recommendations to whomever you want. Like, I'm an open book. I would rather help than you hate some part of your day.
Yes, yes. If people are looking to hire a planner, I think they should. It really should. It's worth, like I said, it's worth every penny because it's a person who's literally in charge of planning your day, helping you plan your day, and helping execute that plan. Do you have advice for people looking to hire somebody, things they should look for or things they should avoid, or I call it green flags, red flags.
Yes. So things you should look for a coordinator or planner is somebody who kind of knows the industry, not just somebody who just decided, I think this sounds fun. Like, yes, I think it is fun, but at the same time, you kind of have to know a little bit about it and who's good, who's not great. Networking helps a ton. But for couples, make sure that you know exactly what you're purchasing too. Because you want to know all the small details. What I've found in some other planners and coordinators, and the reason why I structure my coordinating the way that I do and planning the way that I do, is that I want everything to be included in whatever my package is. And I know that some people are like, okay, well, I'll be your day of coordinator, but I'm only going to stay until dinner kicks off.
Yes.
And then you don't see them anymore. They're gone. You fed them. They're great.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that at all. Like, look for somebody that's going to stick it out with you for the entire day to make sure that everything goes exactly how you'd want.
Yeah.
Like, especially with you guys, you're there until the very end of the night. Like, you want to make sure that your other vendors are taken care of too. So that's one of the things that you should look for in a coordinator. Things to steer clear of is somebody who's just trying to make a quick buck and say that they organize for you.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to want them to make a timeline for you, know all the details, like ask them questions. In a planner or a coordinator, ask any questions that you want. They should be an open book entirely.
Yeah. And I always say, like, run if they don't offer like a contract.
Yes.
If they just like want your money and
Yes.
no contract.
Yeah, just Venmo me. No, don't do that. Like, have a contract with them. Make sure that like everything feels right. I've seen, like, I'm part of so many like Facebook pages in the bridal industry, and you see these poor people, like these poor couples who get scammed, and it's just like, you do not.
Yeah.
Like, check into things. It's okay.
And shop around.
Yeah,
'Cause
shop
think,
around.
I think really what we've talked about a lot is that, like, it's really important that you mesh well and that you vibe with that person, because they're going to be with you, you know, up into the wedding, but also the day of. That, like, do you feel like you vibe? Do you feel like this person understands what you're going for? Are they listening to you? Or are you hiring somebody who's like, nope, I just do my thing and that's it, and I'm gone. Like you said, I'm out.
Yeah.
It's 8:00. See ya. Bye.
Yeah.
You know, do the research and then shop around, get pricing from everybody. And there's probably a reason that person's price is so much lower than everybody else's, you know?
Read the Google reviews.
Yes.
Read the Zola reviews. Everything that you can try to find, do it. Because after all, they're the client. It's like interviewing. Interview as many candidates as you want.
Yeah.
And figure out who the best fit is for you.
Yeah. What about somebody who's already booked a planner or a coordinator? Do you have advice for couples like that to how to get the most out of that experience?
So to get the most out of the experience is making sure you have that open communication with your coordinator and planner. Some I've seen will only reach out, like they limit the amount of communication you can have. That's another one of those red flags.
Yeah.
Try to find somebody who's open to just having open communication with you so that they know all the details of your day. If they don't, then I would try to figure out a way to get them to be more communicative with you. And then make sure that they're creating a timeline for you. They're your advocate. So on the day of your wedding, they're the ones that are going to be the person that sticks up for you and make sure that your timeline's going exactly how you wanted it planned, not how someone else wants it planned.
Yes.
So definitely have that good relationship with somebody.
Yeah. To me, the best ones that I've experienced. And generally, I'm not really in the picture in terms timeline and music until late in the game. And so I usually will go over, sometimes I'll meet with planners, which is always awesome, or meet with the couple. But to me, the best ones are planners who reach out and ask for, do you have a timeline for the couple and music, important songs? I get that to them. So then they send out like an inclusive kind of a working document to all the vendors about what's happening, what's going on. They help sync up that timeline, because I experience where couples meet with me, they meet with the photographer, they meet with the videographer, they meet with the venue, they meet with their planner, the coordinator, and everybody has a little bit different of a timeline.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not a big thing, But sometimes it's actually crucial because they told their planner that, oh, actually we're doing sunset photos, but they didn't tell the photo, they didn't tell video, they didn't tell the catering, and that's not, so we have to adjust the timeline, which is fine. And any professional is going to find a way to be flexible to work to make sure that was something the couple wanted, let's make it happen. But sometimes everybody's trying to do their job, but they're all fighting each other because, oh, we're doing sunset photos, but I didn't have that. We're doing first dances now. Yeah. Or the venue's like, food's hot and ready, we need to serve it.
Yeah. You want to make sure everybody's cohesive with each other.
Yes.
It's a team. It's not everybody for themselves.
Yes.
So that's like another thing you should look for in a coordinator or a planner is making sure that they're reaching out to your vendors and getting what their timelines are so everybody can be on the same page. Because you don't want to get to the day of and be like, oh, well, they're supposed to be doing their cake cutting at this time instead of doing their entrance at this time. And their first dance is supposed to be before dinner, not after dinner.
Yeah.
So making sure everything is like together is crucial.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then I'm like, they cut the cake cutting. And like, they told me this morning, no cake cutting.
Yeah.
But they didn't tell the planner. They didn't tell, so that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Ideally, you want it to go smoothly without the couple ever feeling that stress. And it's for everyone to get everything they need to do their job the best way possible. Mm-hmm. Do you have, working with other vendors, do you have experiences or advice on like, hey, if you have a planner on this wedding, you should do this or you should avoid this for other vendors listening,
I mean, all the vendors I've had have been pretty decent. I can't really give any advice as far as what they should do different. I mean, everybody works so hard for their couples, and you just want to make sure you're all on the same page.
Yes.
That's it. So if you have a question, maybe like as another vendor, and you think that you don't want to stress the couple out, like say it's the week of or something, just reach out to the coordinator. Don't even ask the couple. They might already know the answer. And if they don't, they're going to find out for you.
I've started to ask, do you have a planner? Do you have a coordinator? Which venue? Generally, if I know they're working someplace I already know, but sometimes I don't. And so then I'm like, do you want me to direct questions to them day of? Do you want me to direct questions to you? Help them with that kind of, ideally, I don't have to bother them with anything, especially anything stressful. And I like to answer that beforehand when they're not super stressed and pulled in a million directions, day of. But you never know. It's always, that's kind of the fun of the job. I like the problem solving, the working, the coordinating. Most of the time, it's just that. It's just a matter of miscommunication.
Yeah.
And so that's an easy fix. But sometimes I'll work with vendors and I'm like, it's really an attitude thing. This person thinks they are the most important vendor here.
Yes.
And their time or their things are the only thing that matters. Their shots, if they're a photographer, or their video, or their DJ, I don't care. I'm playing my music. I don't care what the couple wants.
That's the worst.
Oh, so
I
frustrating.
have had an instant where a vendor was a little extra and wanted the timeline to be her timeline instead of anyone else's. And that was rough because it stresses the couple out. Like, it's the last thing you want to do. Like, just figure it out amongst yourselves. Like, don't even put the couple in the situation.
Yes.
Just leave them be.
Yeah. And it's not about you.
No, it's not. Eventually, like the coordinator or planner I did that day was to put my foot down and say, like, no, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So go with it. Otherwise, it's not going to be good, I guess. I don't know. But go with it already. This is what the couple wants.
We have a recurring theme that comes up again and again when talking weddings. We call it, it's not going to go the way you think.
Yes.
Where couples see a Pinterest or they see a TikTok video and they want that at their wedding. And I, as a DJ, I'm like, oh, they want the sparkler cannons, but I know that venue says no sparkler cannons.
Right.
Or, they want a sparkler send-off. And there's like, nope, they've stopped that because there was fires, Do you have anything like that you're like, couples come to me with this and it's not going to go the way you think?
I mean, the exit is usually the way. Usually. Mainly the timeline. Some people get so stuck on it needs to happen at this time, like in this order. And it's like on that day, you just got to go with the flow.
Yeah.
And luckily I've had a lot of clients that do just go with the flow. Like, it is the way it is. That's all it's going to be. Like, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Things that probably haven't gone the right. Yeah, it's a send off usually.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always something. But yeah, I always say that's the best advice is like plan as best you can. Trust the vendors you've hired. Listen to them. But then day of, relax and enjoy the day.
Yes.
Just really enjoy it. Don't worry if the cake's not coming out at 8:03 p.m.
Yes.
You know, it'll be there at 8:05 and it'll be fine, you know.
Kind of just go with the flow.
Yeah.
You don't need to know it exactly to a T. Like, trust everybody.
Do you have any sweet or just really just heartfelt memories from weddings you've done, things that or you've experienced, or even wedding dress stuff, like things that stick out in your mind, experiences that you've had?
My favorite part of weddings is actually seeing like a couple do like their first look, because as part of my job, as well as like the photographer, we're like the main people that get to see the first look. And it's so sweet to see it every single time and have them do private vows. I love that people are doing that now because some people are not as extrovert as others. So that's a really sweet moment that I love during weddings.
Videos love that too, because then they have clean audio for that, and it's much more
Yes,
heartfelt
it
than
is.
being stressed up there at the.
Yeah, because it's just the two of them. And that's what the day is about. It's just the two
They
of
can
you.
really
And
read
that's
their
it.
letter or read their vows or whatever.
Exactly. One of the fun things that my last wedding actually just did was they did a reverse anniversary dance
Oh,
to get people onto the dance floor. So they started with people who were engaged, then people who just got married, and then went from there. So then everybody was on the dance floor by the end of the song instead of trying to get like, and that would help your job,
Yeah.
if anything,
yeah.
to get people onto the dance floor. And they loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah, we've done that's kind of been a new trend we've been doing.
Yeah.
I think it really works well. It kind of adds that people need to build time to feel comfortable with dancing. And so a slow
Yes.
dance is great, especially if they're coming out when it's like, oh, we're celebrating being together, you know, as a couple. I also like that it includes couples that aren't married,
Yes.
you know. I even start like, have you been together? How long have you been together?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even have to be engaged, you know. But I think that's a really fun thing. What about wild things? Anything crazy that you remember that you can talk about? Don't use names or venues or
No, so I won't use
Okay.
any names
Okay.
or venues. The most interesting thing that I've come to realize is there's always somebody, and it's not always the bride. It's not the bride or the groom usually that wants to like defend the bride and the groom, and they want it this way. Like there's always that one person, and it's either a sister or like. Most of the time, it's the groom's mom, which is interesting because it's like their baby.
Yeah.
So they want everything to go that they want. But I have had it where there was like a fight at the rehearsal dinner and mom wasn't going to come to the wedding and she had half of the decor that I needed.
Oh, no.
And it was like, oh my goodness, what the heck am I going to do if she doesn't show up? Finally, she did, thankfully. And then the whole thing kicked off and it was fine. Like there was no issues. Everybody had a fantastic time. So it's hard for some people that their kid gets married. And I get that.
Brings
but
up a lot of emotions.
It brings up a ton of emotions. So you don't act the right way sometimes. So
It's similar to when
But-
you lose a loved one and you're grieving.
Yeah.
And then people are like, why aren't they crying? Like, well, everyone grieves differently.
Everybody
and
does.
They cry in a different way or they feel comfortable. You know, it's the same thing. Everybody marries differently.
Yeah.
You know?
it is.
Because it is,
I
in a
mean-
way, as a parent, you're losing your kid.
It is.
They're marrying someone else. As a person getting married, you're like, I'm leaving my parents, and some of my friends may be sour about this. They may not love this person as much as I do, or get this person.
You like don't want to disappoint anyone.
Yes.
Like you're like, well, it's my wedding day. I
Yeah.
want to be selfish, but then I don't want to make anybody mad either. So
Yeah, I tell people it's a political event, and they're going to have opinions about what they think you should do.
that is very true.
Yeah. Well, you have to do a cake cutting. You know, it's
No.
like somehow you're going to be embarrassing
Yeah.
them if you don't cut a cake. It's some of the things are
So
ridiculous.
many people have gotten rid of that.
Yes,
though. And
yes.
I love it. They do like a small little cake for them and their wedding party or family, and then it goes into a big dessert table, and everybody loves that.
They don't do
so.
this cake smash or
No, nobody does that.
Yeah. There's so many traditions that are like newer that are really fun, and there's ones that are on the way out
Yes.
that are not so.
Yes. Some songs that I'm sure a lot of
Yeah.
people don't play anymore.
Are there traditions that you're like, I'm glad this one's gone?
Yes.
anything that comes to mind that you're like, this is not my favorite?
I don't know.
For me, it's like bouquet garter or sparkler send off, or the worst one is the dollar dance.
Oh,
I just don't like doing dollar dance.
Yeah, that one's rough because then you're like trying to have people give dollars and they like nobody carries cash anymore.
Yes,
So
that's a big part of it.
yeah.
There's always a creepy guy with the 20, you know?
Yeah.
It's always a guy. Uh, and to me, you never raise enough money to be worth the sacrifice of losing the fun dance floor, the
Right.
atmosphere. You're sacrificing. You have limited time to celebrate and make memories at the wedding.
Hmm.
As a DJ, that's my job is help them make memories, have a good time, celebrate that. And so I don't want to waste 15, 20, 30 minutes. I'll do it.
Because
That's the
it
thing.
takes a long time.
It
for
does.
that
It takes
song.
way longer than people think.
Yes.
And you never raise as much money as you think.
You do not.
Most I've ever seen is like $300 to $500. It's never been like thousands.
No.
Now, there are a few, like I've seen some Greek weddings where they just litter the floor in money. That's a little different story. That's a family thing.
Wow, I need to go to a Greek wedding.
Right? People come with money because that's part of the family
They
tradition.
know it.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's a different thing. But yeah. Any traditions that you're like, I'm okay with that one not happening as much, or
I haven't really had any. I mean, it's the
Sure.
usual, the garter toss and the bouquet toss.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't do that anymore. I did have one wedding where we decided to, instead of doing the bouquet toss, she gave it to her mom
yeah,
and then
I
did
like
a
that.
first, like a dance with her, because that was important to her because moms don't get that recognition
Yes.
at all. So I love all the new unique things that people are coming up with to honor their moms.
Yes.
'Cause
Yeah,
dad
people-
gets a time, like the mother of the groom gets a time. Everybody gets a time except for them.
Yeah, I like that too. And people is it? Can we do a mother-daughter? I'm like, absolutely. It's
Yeah,
your wedding.
why
Whatever you
not?
want, you can do whatever. There's no right or wrong way to do this.
Yeah.
What I typically do is tell them this is what people typically do, kind of the order. And does that sound good to you? Do you want to change that, adjust that? Or are there new, fun, unique ways that seem more better fit for you guys? I think that's the best thing is to make it your own.
Yeah.
To find a way to, honor the person who's important to you, or to, do something that people are going to remember.
Yeah.
That's the most fun, the best way to do it.
One thing I've learned is that every wedding is different.
Mm.
And it's fun to see it because,
Yeah.
like, everybody has their own way of doing things. And that's great because it's your day. Like, it's not about anybody else but the two of you. So just how do you want it designed? How do you want the day to run? Like, if you want certain dances, do them. Like, if you don't want ones, don't do them. Like, do it how you envision your day. That's all that matters because that's what you're going to look back on later on.
I love that.
I mean,
I love that. I mean, it's true. It's very true. Do you have things that, like, I wish couples knew this?
I wish couples knew how much to organize their items.
Like,
This is a coordinator
yeah,
aspect.
yeah. So that's why, yeah. Items. Say more.
Like organizing like your different tablescapes and like just have that communication with your coordinator, like I mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
like to say like how you want things set up. Because there's been a couple weddings where I've been given everything, but like no pictures, haven't shown me anything. Like just show me something, like inspiration off of Pinterest
It's
or
like-
something, so I know. And then like know that your coordinator and your planner is there for you.
Mm.
Like so, once again, having that relationship with them, that would be something that if you don't know, you should definitely have.
So I've seen it where I've seen people who are very organized, where they have like a binder and a picture of like table number 7. This is what it should look like. And they have
Yes.
like, it's a box for table number 7.
Mhm.
I mean, they've done most of your work for you.
Yeah,
You
it's
literally are
great.
putting it out there.
Well, especially because, like, okay, so in Chicago, when I do a wedding there, they give you 2 hours and that's it to set up.
Mm.
Whereas other venues, like around here, you could come in at 9 a.m.
Coming on Thursday.
Yeah, come in the night before, set it up. So, like, when it comes to the city weddings and other weddings that I've had where you get a limited amount of time, I can't sit there and alphabetize all the escort cards. Like, it's going to take me 45 minutes for, like, 200 guests.
Yeah.
Like, so just try to be as organized as possible. If you are one of those DIY brides or grooms, like, I understand the DIY.
Sure.
I love doing them. I love helping people trying to figure out the cheapest possible routes that look very nice and expensive.
Yeah.
So just making sure that those are all organized in the right way. And if you don't know like what your coordinator ask them.
Yeah.
Like ask them how you should do it so then they could be successful on the day as well. And everything is set up the way that you want.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah.
part of what I tell people. You're paying for our experience, our advice, our guidance.
Yeah.
But we don't know you. Getting to know you, and we want to
Yeah.
give what you want. And if you don't know what you want, we can help you, give you some ideas. And Pinterest helps. Different things like that help. People send me playlists. People send me TikToks.
Yeah.
That helps somewhat. It's really helpful if they've been to a wedding recently, because then I can ask, what did you love? What didn't you love? What do you want to avoid? That kind of thing. But that's really good advice. It's like, have it organized, communicate, ask if you need help. And it's funny that the city weddings, that's so true. It's like,
They're quick.
we're going to flip this room. We got time is
Yes.
money. So
And it's intimidating because you see these catering crews come in, and I didn't realize it until like the first one that I did there, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is impressive! Like this is so impressive."
military precision.
They have like 15 people come in. They come and set up every single table setting for the 120 people, and they are like done within a half an hour. And here I am, just like making the centerpieces like on table 2. But yeah, so having everything organized helps tremendously because I'm not a huge crew. Like I'm growing, but
Yeah.
not that big.
Sure.
So having that helps
Mm.
just a little bit.
Couples planning their weddings, they they really get stressed out. Any advice, thoughts on how to handle that, how to work with that, or I don't know, timeline suggestions? Is there trends that you think this is a great trend, or this is one we should avoid? Anything like that? Anything advice inside?
When it comes to planning, take it like week by week. Don't try to plan everything right off the bat. Like, yes, you should get your venue soon. Like, if you want September next year, good luck for one. And for 2, hopefully you can find one and try to hit that first. Your venue and your dress are your first things. Like, those take the longest, and you need those things before you can book the rest of your vendors. So take it week by week. With a lot of my couples, I try to do one vendor at a time instead of doing like 15 vendors at one time.
Wow.
And be like, hey, here's all these referrals that I have. You pick one of these DJs, and it's too much. I currently have a couple who they do what's called Wedding Wednesday. So they only talk about their wedding on like Wednesday night, and they go through and they review and they figure out which vendors they want each week. So already, like I've only had them for maybe a month and a half. We've got their venue figured out. They've got their DJ figured out. Like we're just going week by week and figuring out which one they want. That way it doesn't stress them out. Like
That's really good.
That's the last thing you want to do is stress someone out about it. It's supposed to be a fun experience.
Yeah.
It is not supposed to have you guys sitting at date night on a Friday night, sitting there trying to figure out table arrangements and everything.
Yeah.
It's the last thing you want. You're supposed to be getting married to each other and enjoying each other's company and enjoying the fiance period. Allow your planner or coordinator to figure out the details and you just coast. Like, enjoy the time.
Yeah. I mean, that's great advice. I love
Yeah.
the idea of breaking it up. Wedding Wednesdays.
Mhm.
That's really good. It's not so stressful. You just break it down,
It's not.
focus on one vendor at a time, but dress and venue first.
Yes.
It's people come to us and like, we haven't booked a venue. I'm like, maybe you should do that.
You should
That's,
do that first, depending on when you
Yeah.
want to have it. Like,
Yeah.
and then you guys usually come next.
Yeah, generally
Yeah.
they book entertainment next or
Yep.
photo, usually photo or us,
Photo,
one or
yeah.
the other.
You guys kind of go hand in hand
Yeah.
with the next ones.
Yeah, it's like, where are we doing this? And then who's capturing the memories and who's making the helping us
Mhm.
make the memories. And then they do the rest, catering, all that stuff,
Yeah.
floral. Working with DJs.
Yes.
I'm sure you've had good, bad, ugly memories from that, stories from that. Stuff you like, stuff you didn't like.
Stuff I didn't like was when I had a DJ honestly show up with his like iPad and play a Spotify playlist.
Oh no.
And literally set up like a fake booth, like trifold thing, asked for a chair, asked for a table so he could sit there and press play. The room read it. It was not good. It was so bad. other DJs I've had, every other one has been pretty fantastic. Like, you guys were great.
Oh, thanks.
Like, Chris was fantastic and read the room. And I think a lot of it sometimes, though, does have to do with the crowd that you have.
It can, yeah.
So if people are willing to get up and dance, then it goes off with the hitch and it makes your job so much easier.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, then it's a dud.
Yeah. Yeah.
DJ is a huge part. Think about it. It's like 4 hours of your whole wedding
Yeah.
that guests are there for to see. Like, that's a huge thing.
Well, and that's the fun thing. That's
yeah,
the
that's the fun part
That's
of
the
it.
party. Yeah.
Yeah, because by then, most people, they just want to be done with photos usually.
Yeah.
They get their sunset photos. Then it's just, they want to party. They don't want to smile and go crazy, like doing poses. Like, they just want to have fun with their friends and family at the end of the night.
Let
So,
loose, relax,
Yes.
celebrate, make some memories. Yeah. There's a lot of things that we've discovered as DJs that really aren't up to us, whether they're going to, that affect it,
Mhm.
good or bad, the weather, the location of the dance floor, where the DJ can set up in relation to the location of the dance floor. The age of the crowd, the type. Sometimes you have really good dancing crowds, and sometimes they're just like, there's no way we're dancing.
Yeah.
And I can usually tell pretty quickly when I'm doing the introductions, because I'm like, welcome to the, and I'll be like, I'm excited. Are you guys,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. You can tell pretty quickly how loud they're cheering, how involved they are as a guest.
If they're just like slow clap, then we know this night is going to be long.
Yes, yeah. Also, bridal parties and if people show up wasted to the
Oh,
ceremony,
Cocktail hour went
Yeah,
too hard.
Yeah. Just that kind of thing. And then, sometimes food. There's a lot of things that affect. But I've noticed the number one thing, besides the weather, the location, is the speeches.
Mm-hmm.
People wouldn't think it, but man, you could suck the fun out of a room real quick with a bad, long, or awkward speech.
That is something I have ran across where everybody wants to give a speech.
Yeah.
I've had a wedding where there was, I think, 8 people that wanted to give a speech. Yeah, it was an hour long of just people's speeches, which I get it. You guys haven't seen each other in a long time, but if your coordinator or planner happens to give the recommendation to do some of them like at rehearsal the night before,
Yes.
highly recommend,
Yes.
because that's cutting into your dancing time. So
Yes. Do that at the bachelor or bachelorette party.
Yes.
That's a fun thing. We're surrounded. We got drinks. Everybody's going to take a toast.
Yes.
Say something nice about the bride.
Yes.
Everybody's going to get most of the jokes.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to have feelings and cry and laugh and, But at a wedding, you don't want an hour and a half of speeches.
No.
Oh,
Your guests get tired.
the food is getting cold.
The food is
Yeah.
cold.
It's cutting into your dancing time. It's cutting into your party time.
Yes.
The guests Chris talks about this, the guests feel trapped at their tables. They can't get up and leave. They shouldn't.
During that hour one,
Yeah.
I regretted where I was standing because I could not get out of that
Oh,
spot. And I was
no.
like, why did I stand here?
Oh, no.
And they just kept going longer and longer.
Yeah. I mean, those I've had those ones too. And I do my best to tell couples, like, you're doing 8 speeches, just so you know.
Yeah.
I think it's not going to go the way you think. It's going to go this
Yes.
way. And
Try to tell your friends and family members that are giving the speech too to limit it to 2 to 3 minutes.
yes.
Like, please read it to yourself and time it to make sure it's only that long.
Mm.
Because if it gets any longer, your guests are like, ready for some cake? Like something.
Oh, totally. And avoid the usual tropes and avoid, inside jokes and just stuff that nobody's going to get or laugh at.
If it's
or find
just between like you and the groom or something, like
stories that lead nowhere.
probably just say it later. Don't bring up exes. That's another thing.
Oh.
Don't bring up hardcore partying in your past life. Like
Yes.
that just, it kills it.
Illegal activities you guys have done
Yes.
together. Yeah. It's just not the way to do it. But that, believe it or not, that kills the dance floor.
It does.
People are tired, like, oh, well, I'm not going to have fun tonight. It just really sours people's moods. It can.
Mhm.
I've seen people recover, but most of the time it's, that was tough.
Pretty rough.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wish like people knew about coordinating, hiring a coordinator, about decorating, any of that stuff?
I don't know.
That's okay. Yeah, I so appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for taking the time today. If people are interested in working with you and about having the experience you kind of talked about,
Yeah.
what's the best way they can reach out and get a hold of you?
So you can either reach me on my website, which is www.honorarybridesmaid.com, or social media. I love my social media.
Sure. So on Instagram, what's your handle on
It's honorary.bridesmaid.
Honorary.bridesmaid?
Yeah. So I try to post as much as I can. I just had somebody find me on TikTok, which was interesting because I barely post there. But yeah,
Still, yeah, that's if it works, you know. I would love to get on TikTok more, but
it's hard.
it is.
It's like the one outlet where you're like, this could be really embarrassing
Yeah.
if I'm on here.
I'm still figuring it out, so we'll
Yeah.
still work it. But yeah, but Seth, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Of course.
We love your work, and come back and see us again. This has been the DJ Insider Podcast. I'm Mike from Amplified Events.
I am Kim from Honorary Bridesmaid.
Yes, and we will see you at your wedding.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.